in the boundless expanse of the ocean, where the horizon was a seamless blend of blue sky and deep water, a team of Navy divers embarked on a daring mission. Their objective was to retrieve a long-lost airplane, resting for years on the ocean floor. The operation held the air of both excitement and solemnity as the team prepared to uncover secrets buried under miles of water. What they would find, however, would do more than answer questions. It would rewrite their understanding of the past. For Jack, the youngest member of the team and a recent recruit, this mission was more than just another assignment. Fresh out of training, he was eager to prove himself. As he stood on the deck of the ship, watching the horizon shift under the rising sun, his heart raced with anticipation. The seasoned sailors beside him joked and exchanged stories of their previous missions, but Jack mostly listened, soaking in their experience like a sponge. Their destination was eerily unremarkable, a patch of open sea with no visible signs of what lay beneath. But the technology on board told a different story. Advanced sonar and acoustic imaging equipment had pinpointed the remains of an aircraft, and now it was up to the divers to retrieve it. As Jack descended into the depths for the first time, he felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. The water around him was dark and cold, a stark contrast to the warmth of the sunlit deck above. The silence of the ocean was oppressive, broken only by the hum of his breathing apparatus. He followed his team, their dive lights cutting through the murk, illuminating the ghostly outline of the airplane below. When they reached the site, the aircraft appeared almost frozen in time, its structure eerily intact. Barnacles and marine growth clung to its surface, giving it an otherworldly appearance. The team moved methodically, attaching the crane's chains to the fuselage with care. Every movement was deliberate. The goal was to bring the plane to the surface without causing further damage. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were intruding on something sacred. This wasn't just a piece of wreckage, it was a capsule of untold stories, of lives interrupted. When the crane finally lifted the airplane from the ocean floor, the water cascaded off its metal frame like a curtain, shimmering in the sunlight. The sight was surreal, and for a moment, the entire team stood in awe. But their reverie was cut short by a loud metallic groan. One of the emergency exits slid open, as if releasing a held breath. The divers exchanged uneasy glances. An open exit meant someone or something had left the plane before it sank. Questions buzzed through Jack's mind. Had there been survivors? Where had they gone? And most importantly, what had caused the plane to crash in the first place? With the plane secured on the ship's platform, Jack and his team entered the cabin, one by one. The interior was a haunting sight. The seats were intact, but the overhead compartments were completely empty. There were no signs of luggage, personal belongings, or even human remains. The absence was palpable, a void that only deepened the mystery. Jack moved carefully through the narrow aisles, his flashlight revealing details that seemed ordinary but felt significant under the circumstances. A child's toy lay wedged between two seats, its bright colors faded but still recognizable. A scarf, delicate and patterned, floated in a shallow puddle of seawater. These remnants of life hinted at stories he could only imagine. He found himself wondering about the people who had been aboard, their faces, their fates. At the back of the plane, Jack stumbled upon something that made his breath catch. A large, ornate box, secured with heavy chains, sat conspicuously in the corner. Its presence was jarring, almost deliberate, as if it were waiting to be discovered. He called his team over, and together they examined it. The box was locked tightly, its craftsmanship intricate and imposing. "What could be in here?" Jack whispered, though the question lingered in everyone's minds. The team decided to take the box back to the ship for further examination. As they worked to transport it, their curiosity turned into a burning need for answers. This was no ordinary find. The box, the empty cabin, the missing passengers, it all pointed to a story that had yet to be uncovered. Back aboard, the team gathered in the operations room. The ship rocked gently with the waves as they reviewed the data collected from the dive. The sonar images, the plane's structural analysis, and the details of their find painted a picture, but it was one riddled with gaps. The team began to dig into the plane's history, hoping to piece together its story. What they discovered only added to the enigma. The flight logs for the aircraft were incomplete, and its last recorded journey was unlisted: no departure airport, no destination, and no registered passengers. It was as if the plane had been wiped from existence, meant to vanish without a trace. Yet here it was, a ghost of the past, demanding to be noticed. Jack found himself drawn to the box as the investigation unfolded. It seemed to hold the key to everything, though its contents remained a mystery. Meanwhile, the team expanded their search for answers, reaching out to aviation experts and historians. Each inquiry led to more questions, painting a picture of a flight that should never have existed. In the archives, they stumbled upon an old newspaper article mentioning the sudden disappearance of a prominent businessman a decade earlier. His name had been tied to controversies and whispered scandals, but no one had connected him to the plane until now. Jack felt the weight of the discovery pressing on him. This mission had started as a simple recovery, but it had become something far greater. The plane was no longer just an artifact, it was a time capsule, a link to lives and stories that had been swallowed by the ocean's depths. The team stood around the ornate box, its chains a physical representation of the secrets it guarded. Breaking the locks required precision tools and careful handling, but after hours of effort, the last chain clattered to the floor. As the lid was pried open, a collective hush fell over the room. Inside, they found an assortment of documents, photographs, and personal effects. A flight manifest partially scorched but still legible listed names, though many were pseudonyms. Old passports, stamped with exotic destinations, were tucked into a leather folder. Among the papers was a handwritten note in faded ink, its message cryptic yet urgent. If you are reading this, then the truth must not be buried. Trust no one. The cost of knowing is high. The atmosphere in the room shifted. The sense of discovery was mingled with unease. Jack could feel it, a weight of something larger than themselves, an invisible thread connecting the box's contents to the plane's mysterious fate. Among the photographs was a candid shot of the missing millionaire standing beside the plane on a tarmac. His face was half hidden by sunglasses, but the distinct lines of his jaw and the unmistakable logo on his briefcase confirmed his identity. The photo's timestamp matched the plane's last unrecorded departure date. The flight manifest included names that had been redacted in the official logs. One stood out: a scientist known for controversial research during the Cold War. A second name matched that of a journalist who had disappeared under mysterious circumstances while investigating political scandals. Each discovery painted a picture of a clandestine gathering, a flight meant to carry secrets away, but to where? Jack's pulse quickened as he flipped through a journal found in the box. It detailed plans for a meeting aboard the flight, one that was supposed to change the course of history. The entries stopped abruptly, as though the author had no time to finish their thoughts. Scrawled on the last page were coordinates: a location in the middle of the ocean, eerily close to where the plane had been found. The team pored over the coordinates and consulted satellite data from the time of the plane's disappearance. There had been no record of storms, mechanical issues, or distress signals. Yet the plane had veered off its expected route and vanished. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone had deliberately led the plane to its watery grave. The scattered pieces of the puzzle hinted at sabotage, perhaps even an attempt to erase the individuals on board. But who would go to such lengths? And why? The documents and items in the box began to tell a larger story. The missing millionaire had been embroiled in high-stakes negotiations involving global powers. The scientist had been working on classified technology that could shift the balance of power. The journalist, it seemed, had uncovered truths too dangerous to report. It wasn't a coincidence that these individuals were on the same flight; it was a convergence of secrets. As the investigation deepened, the ship's crew began to experience a growing sense of unease. The plane seemed almost alive with its silence, its empty cabin haunting their thoughts. At night, some sailors claimed to hear faint whispers carried by the ocean breeze, as if the passengers' stories were still lingering, demanding to be heard. Jack spent long hours in the operations room, studying the flight logs and personal effects, trying to make sense of the puzzle. His determination grew with each clue, but so did his sense of dread. The mission had taken on a personal significance for him. It wasn't just about recovering a sunken plane anymore. It was about giving voice to the lives lost, uncovering truths that had been buried too long. A breakthrough came when the team cross-referenced the recovered documents with global intelligence archives. The missing millionaire had been on the verge of exposing a massive financial conspiracy involving some of the world's most powerful entities. The scientists' research, classified as top secret, had implications for energy independence. Together, their knowledge posed a threat to the status quo, a threat that might have warranted their erasure. Jack realized that the plane's disappearance wasn't an accident. It was an execution of precision, an act designed to ensure that neither the passengers nor their knowledge would surface again. Driven by the newfound revelations, Jack suggested a deeper dive back at the crash site. His instincts told him there was more to find. This time, the team's exploration of the surrounding area uncovered a chilling discovery: a second black box, buried under sediment. It was unlike any standard flight recorder they had seen. Its markings bore no identification, and its design suggested it was never meant to be found. When they played the recording back aboard the ship, the audio was fragmented but unmistakably human. Voices argued in hushed, panicked tones, mentioning betrayal, sabotage, and the dire consequences of their mission. A loud noise, an explosion or sudden impact cut the recording short, followed by eerie silence. The second black box confirmed the team's worst fears. The plane had been sabotaged, its passengers deliberately silenced. But the truth they had uncovered came with a cost. Higher authorities stepped in, demanding the investigation be classified. Orders were issued to cease all public inquiries, and the evidence was secured under lock and key. For Jack, the end of the mission felt hollow. The excitement he had felt at the start of the operation was replaced by a profound sense of responsibility. The lives lost on that flight deserved justice, but the weight of bureaucracy and secrecy loomed large. He stood on the deck one final time, watching the horizon as the ship turned back toward port. The ocean, vast and unyielding, had given up its secrets reluctantly, and now it seemed to swallow them again. The families of the missing millionaire and the passengers were given carefully curated accounts of the findings, enough to offer closure but not enough to reveal the full extent of the truth. The plane's retrieval became a quiet footnote in naval records, its story buried beneath layers of confidentiality. Yet for Jack, the mission would forever remain a turning point. It had shaped him, challenged his beliefs, and shown him the lengths to which people would go to protect power and hide the past. He vowed to carry the memories of that plane and its passengers with him, a reminder of the fragility of truth and the resilience of those who seek it.